Good morning. Today is a snow day in my world. I don't know what's going on in your world, but there's white stuff coming down. And it's so cute because the birds, they puff up like balls. That's where they got the angry birds from. They're angry because it's cold. It's snowing, maybe. Anyways, I wanted to come on because I had this event happen and it just felt like something to share more detailed because I feel like it's a really perfect example of, or it's a great example of how the universe can be protective or how spirit can show that it's got your back, that kind of thing. Um, so first of all, go back, just quick back. I drive for a retired faller. Now the dad of a childhood friend of mine. And yeah, he had some medical situations or issues. And so he had his license taken away for a little bit there. And then now it's just, he can have his license back, but it's like caught up in paperwork. And I'm his driver 2 days a week. And what he wants to do most is drive around backlogging roads, check out spots that he logged and share stories. And it's great. He pays me, and also I get to go out and see these beautiful forests. And I mean, there's a lot of logged places. There's a lot of active logging that we run across, and sometimes going up a side of a mountain and like running into active logging, which is always, I swear a lot when I come around a corner and there's a big ass logging truck coming towards me. I'm like, oh fuck! So it's a good time. It's a good time. And so, anyways, we were on the way up. Usually we hang out during the week. But one of the places that he wants to go, there's like these gates that block you from going through certain spots, and they have times when the gates will be closed, and sometimes they'll close them early. And so it's always like this, oh, I'm gonna get stuck in there or whatever. And anyways, there's this one part that's no access during the week, but the weekends it's open access for public. So we swapped a day over and we did a weekend one this week. I had to go somewhere on the day that we usually hang out. So I went to Nanaimo. So anyways, it just worked out that we were able to swap it. So we go out there, we're driving along, we start heading up this mountain, and then we hit snow. And there was already another time where we went up this mountain and we had to turn around at the top, and there was like this little icy where the sun didn't shine strip that went across the road, and we're like up on this tiny little, dirt road that they kind of mess up a bit, or they dig out the culverts or something so that no big sheets of water, it'll just be these little strips, right? So anyways, there was one at the top of this thing, and when we turn around, and then I'm driving his truck. Okay, so this is like a GMC 3500, if that means anything to you, double cab, long box, like it's a big truck. And by the way, it was a great truck. Like it goes up these mountains, so I get it. Anyways, we're coming down, and you're going on the brake, or I'm kind of like tapping the brake because we're coming down this hill. Well, I tap that brake right when we hit that ice, and then the whatever braking system that's part of the truck kicks in. Well, the brake lets go, so my foot just goes straight down. There's no more air in there to stop the brakes. And now we're sliding, and there's a cliff. It's a big cliff. There's lots of trees all the way down, and a waterfall all the way, like it's, and so there's this moment where I had to like take my foot all the way off the brake to fill it with air again. And then anyways, we almost died. But we didn't. Everything was great. Grabbed again. I had control. I maneuvered it so that we were sliding towards the inner part of the road, not off the cliff. And it was like a, I don't know, time is weird when you're in the middle of almost dying, right? So it was like 5 seconds or whatever. So we made it. Anyways, so this time we're heading up there, and I think it's because it's so long, but it fishtails very easily. Like I have a van, and my van doesn't do that like little back wiggle thing with very little slip. It's weird. Anyway, so we're already getting that, and we're heading into like there's been like two vehicles ahead of us that kind of paved the way, and we get to this one spot. And there's three vehicles parked with their trailers and stuff like that. They've got like snowmobiles or something going on, and we go a little bit past them, and then we're starting to hit territory that hasn't been driven on. There's no tire creases or anything. So he's like, let's turn around. I want to go back. So we turn around and we just do whatever he wants to do. Like it's his dime, right? So I'm just the driver. And then, I can drive through trees all day and like sun going through and, usnea hanging and moss everywhere. And I'm just like, ah, and then rivers. I always stop on the river bridge and like pull my camera out. And every once in a while he'll like want to like stop and fish off of a bridge or have a pee break or something like that. And then I'll jump out and like run and touch moss or like take some deep breaths in the middle of the forest or whatever. Right. So it's really great because I get to like explore around and see places that I couldn't because my van wouldn't make it there. Right. So anyways, we're heading back down this mountain and we get almost near the gate. Like we're probably about 6 minutes from the gate. So there's no more snow on the ground, but it's still cold. And then we hear the sound and we're like, oh, what's that? And he's like, oh, the tire's flat. And I'm like, oh shit. So I guess we should pull over. He's like, yeah. And so, I mean, I'm already slowing down as he says this, but then I see this little, it's like, we got the dirt road or the logging road that we're on. And then there's like this little semi road, like a driveway, that just kind of like a turnaround. Like they were going to make a road there or they did, but then it closed off. Anyways, it wasn't much of a road, but it was enough of a road. It was like a driveway. And, so I pull in front of that because the sun is shining through there. Everywhere else, it's all cold and, not sunny. So I'm just like, well, if we're going to be standing outside for any amount of time, I want to be standing in the sun. So I move over to in front of this like driveway and pull over. And sure enough, the back right tire is flat. And you could hear like, psh, like it's got a hole. So, he's always worried about the tire popping. And I'm just like, aren't these trucks like made to go up sides of mountains? Like, why are their tires so easily poppable, right? But I guess it's like something like you get a rock and then jammed up there and then breakage. I don't know. So we start getting all the gear out. He's got the jack in the back. Now he was prepared because we had a flat tire situation that happened 2 minutes from his house. And so, pulled in and then he spent the next day taking this, like changing this tire, right? And I was impressed. And he had an issue, like, because it kind of fused on a bit, the tire to the thing that the tire sits on. And so he was prepared. He had all the gear in the back of the truck, which was great. This was another, I mean, you go back to that, like the fact that all happened prior so that he had the stuff already in the back of the truck. And then he's trying to get this jack. Now it's just this thing with this piston in the center. And you got this little, it's like this long crank that you stick in this little hole, right? And it puts this piston thing up, or not a piston, whatever. And you stick that underneath the axle and you lift it up, right? But it is so rusty. Like, anyways, he's going, and then he needs a break, and he needs to get underneath. He throws a rain jacket down on the ground, and he gets down there. And I mean, he's 76. He's a 76-year-old man, okay, and he's got Parkinson's, and so the things aren't necessarily working the way, and I could feel the frustration that he was having, like knowing what needs to be done, knowing that he has been able to do it, his whole life, but then his body's just not doing, and then his back was, so he kept taking breaks. So I was just like, oh, I'll do that. I was just getting in there and getting it done. But this freaking crank, oh my God, it was just like, one, two, like it was slow, but I'm like, we got this, we got time. And this was about, I don't know, 10 after 12. And so we're messing with that. And then when we went and got the other tire fixed, the guy who put it back on, he tightened the bolts too tight. And so we couldn't get the bolt undone. And so he's just swearing away. And both of us are trying to get these bolts. And anyways, I'm like, I'm going to call BCAA. I've got BCAA. So I give him a call. And so that was about 12:30. So maybe it was a quarter after. We messed around for about 10 minutes. Okay, so then before I was like, I'm just gonna call. She's like, oh, about 2 hours, but I doubt it will take that long. And then of course I've got the backup plan. Like, what if some miracle we've got this all figured out before this person gets here to help us? What do we do? And we just got to call back and blah, blah, blah. So we carry on. Meanwhile, he's down there, he's trying to work something out, and this truck drives by, and I'm like, hey, and the guy waves and keeps driving, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna need to do more than that, right? So we're going along, and then another car comes by, and this is just like a little car, and there's a mom, I see a couple kids in the back, and a dog, like it's a whole family situation. And I'm like, like this, and then I kind of do like that, like muscles, and they slow down, and so I run up to the front of the truck, and I'm like, he's like, you guys need help? And I'm like, we need some muscle. And he's like, well, I got some of that in here. And I was like, yay. So he backs up, comes out, checks out the situation. And it's like a young family. And like, I was thinking probably like early 30s or something like that. And and the guy's just like checks it all out, and he gets down on the ground and takes over, and we got, by that time we had got all the lug nuts off, so between him and I, him pulling, me pushing, and us both like swearing, sometimes you have to swear a little bit just to give it that extra little like you know, kind of thing. So we got it, we got all the 8 nuts undone, but the freaking tire is stuck, it's fused to the thing. And so so him and they both figure something out, and they're yakking, and then he hits it a couple times and that's not working, and hits the rim. I mean, we got a buffer piece of wood there, and then another guy drives by, and they just wave and they keep going, and and then he figures that maybe because he's got a hitch sticking out like this far on the back of his car, so he's like, what if I back the hitch into the tire, that'll like move it around. But he was also, there's the risk of it knocking the jack off, right? And the truck falling down. I mean, falling over a bit. And so, anyways, they figure that's a good idea. But there's because we're in front of the driveway, he can pull in, pull up, back in, line it up, and he uses his camera, his reverse camera, and he backs into the back of the tire, and sure enough, the jack kicks out, and the combination of him hitting the tire this way and it's kind of falling this way, it knocks the tire off. So success. And so he pulls out, and he's got the same truck, so he knew that there was a spare jack in the back behind the seat or whatever. So he pulls that out because it's not rusty. And he gets that under there, and then he's just like, and I'm like, what? How? Anyways, gets that done. So by this time, I'm like aware that there's 3 kids in the back, a dog, and the mama. So I'm kind of like, hey guys, thanks for being so awesome. Like, we really appreciate the help. And what are you guys up to? And then, the kids start telling me about, well, there's only 2 sisters. One's the friend. And then they have ponies, and they have 2 horses, and one is named Sully, which made me think of Scully. And so I'm like, I'll show you a picture. So I run and grab my phone, which is on silent always in case somebody calls or messages. And then I noticed I had 2 missed calls. And so I look and, had this feeling it was probably the tow truck guy. So I just missed it like 2 minutes ago. So I call them back, and sure enough, they're just outside the gate, like, 7 minutes away. Right? So so I kind of redirect them, like, yep, just keep going on that road and just keep going straight, and we're there on the side, and blah blah blah. And meanwhile, and then I go back to the family and I show them my cat pictures because Scully is a 3-legged cat, and they're like, what? And so they had to see him, and he's so cute. And then yeah, by the time the tow truck guy pulled up, turned around and parked, they had got the new tire on, put the bolts back on, threw the tire in the back. These guys, they had it going on. And so the tow truck guy comes out and he checks it out, and they were all kind of like, yep, this is what happened. This is how we dealt with it. Guys are just like, oh, I did this and whatever, right? And then boom, bada bing, and I felt called to, I don't know, kind of do something. So I gave the wife my card, and I was like, email me, check out my stuff. I'm like, I do face painting, right? Because I didn't, just in case she wanted to like surprise one of her kids or whatever with something like that. And so I'm like, check it out and see, let me give you a deal, right? And and then they went on our way, we went on our way, everybody went on their way, and it was like boom, bada bing. And so I looked at the time. Okay, it was it was shortly after noon when that happened. We were on the road by 1:15. Like the whole thing basically took an hour. And I was thinking about all those divine moments, right? Of like synchronicity. So that family, they wanted to check out this spot, but then they got snowed out and they had to turn around and come back at that right time, right? And who knows, like they're like, well, what are we gonna do now, kind of thing. Like the guy was so happy to help. Like it was like somebody had just given a kid a box of Legos, and he's like, that's what I'm doing now. Like he just I don't know, he just he was awesome. He was a freaking rock star. He got it done. He made it happen. And the guy that I drive was just blown away. Like he's like, I should give him a case of beer or something. And like, he just was really just like, oh man, that was awesome. And in what world does a tow truck driver from BCAA roadside assistance show up in less than an hour? Okay, I don't know. Well, it's the first time I've ever called that. Maybe that's their thing. But I was like, what? And then the fact that there were 2 other vehicles that drove by that, if we were really, really in a pickle or an emergency, and if I was like, help, I'm sure they would have stopped. And then I was also thinking too, like where we stopped, having that like driveway right where it was, was perfect for this guy to be able to pull in with his car and back into the tire to help us get the tire out. It was almost like we had backup and there was backup on the backup, you know what I mean? And even I was thinking about this after those three trucks with the trailers and their uh snowmobile situations or whatever, they were definitely going to be heading out before the gate closed and they would have had to drive right by us. So we had another level of security safety, like people to help us if we needed it. And and just the timing and everything too. And so my biggest takeaway too, because not once was there a moment, well, on my end, I mean, the guy that I drive, just his generation and who he is, right? Like he was just like, what the, like he was having a whatever. So I was maintaining the room there, in the like, okay, well, let's do this. And well, at least we got lunch because I happened to pack a lunch for us because we were going, well, I like to, when dealing with the gates and going up sides of mountains, you just never know, right? But I mean, that tire could have popped at any point coming down that side of that mountain, right? And the fact that it was like down where there was no snow, it was flat. Um, it was kind of near a junctions, like where the roads split as well, so that there was lots of opportunity for running into people. And even like the tow truck guy, when he pulled up, like having those other roads there, because he had his long flat deck, so that that made it, I just felt so fortuitous. And looking back at the scenario and all the different ways that it could have gone and the way that it went and how it all happened, and within the hour, him and I are back cruising on the highway heading home, like doing 110 with our freaking tire awesome, in the back. And so yeah, I was also thinking too, like if we had a different attitude sitting on the side of that road, like would that family have stopped to help us? And there were just, I don't know, we could have sat there longer. We could have, there's just all these things. And I really felt supported by the universe. I felt like even it was almost like a test to see how do you respond to these kinds of situations. But it was also like it felt like a parent teaching or providing an opportunity for the child to learn in a safe space. Like as a parent, that's what we need to do, is create boundaries and teach and guide our children in a safe environment, because for them to learn that same lesson out in the real world, they don't have those buffers, those safety nets around, right? And so I mean, they're still going to learn their lesson, but there could be additional consequences that are a little bit more harmful, right? Trauma inducing, like losing a limb or whatever, right? So anyways, it felt like that. I felt really, really lucky. um and we, even him, he had like, it wasn't an ideal thing. It's something that neither of us would have necessarily like signed up to have done, but the fact that we did it, we got through it. Like the whole way home we were talking about how dang lucky we were, and how awesome that guy was, and the people were. And then it even turned out too that the tow truck guy and the guy that was helping us, they recognized each other and were like, did I go to school with you, and where are you from? And like they had this whole little like connected moment. And it was such a shine on how intricately divine timing and um, just divine timing, how intricate divine timing actually is. Like all those things to line up the way they did, like that family deciding that that was the day and that was the time that they were going to go check out this spot. And then the fact that, they got turned around when they did, because, and it's the wife's car and she didn't want to push it up that thing. I mean, maybe he was like, oh, it'll be fine. And she's like, nope. And so they had to, like, all these things that played a role into that timing, right? I just think is pretty freaking awesome. And so I think the moral of the story for me is to, in the in keeping your frequency, keeping your vibration at a high level. I just noticed I only have less than a minute. Okay, keeping your frequency high is possible and worth it. And I don't know, like all the stress that could have aged me, I just didn't. I just allowed what was happening to happen in the best way possible, and it happened in the best way possible. And so I think it's a thing. So that's what I want to share, and I hope you are inspired to, turn that frown upside down and count your blessings and just be grateful and find ways of making it like a good thing, whatever it is. Like for real though. Okay.